Hi, I'm Randy Rossman, founder of Canine Behavior Science and dog behavior consultant with two different industry organizations. This week is National Dog Bite Prevention Awareness Week. It's about understanding about dogs, dog bites, how to prevent it, how to protect yourself, what to do with your dog if they are biting, a whole slew of different content. And I'm challenging myself this week to put up a video every week about dogs that bite, dogs that might bite, to help address all the different facets. So this has been on my list to do for a while, is to look at some of these funny videos, the really heartwarming videos of kids and dogs doing things together that makes so many people's heart warm, but creates a lot of stress for us that are specialists in dog behavior because we understand what might be going on underlying the situation there. It looks cute, but the dog may not be thinking it's so cute. And we are the ones that end up being called in when there's a problem with a dog and a child because there's been inappropriate behavior going on. Anyway, this is going to be a live review of this video. Someone that I know that doesn't even like dogs put it up and said, "Oh my God, I don't like dogs, but how adorable and sweet." And I started to watch it, and sure enough, not so adorable and sweet all the way through it. Now, I do have to say that I watched enough of it to see that the dog is really good and very, very tolerant of what is going on in the video. And I also got very much the feeling that this dog has been trained really well. And so that mitigates a lot of the risk. So there may not be a risk with this dog and this child in the video. However, the challenge that I have with videos like this online is that it gives the illusion that this is normal when in actuality it's more unusual. So it gives the illusion that this is okay, or this is to be expected, or this is how my dog should be behaving with my child. And what might be happening is a setup for a bad situation, or a dog that's really stressed out around kids, or potentially a bite situation. 77% of dog bites happen in the home or with friends' dogs, dogs that are known to the people, the dogs that are family pets. And the typical underlying reason for this is because we often don't know when a dog is being stressed out. We expect things from dogs that they may not be able to do. When you have a child and a dog, you have two beings that aren't necessarily really logical in how they think about things or how they respond to things. And so it takes a lot of extra effort and management in order to make sure both the dog and the child is safe. So let's get into this right now. Okay, that is adorable. That is a targeting behavior, and targeting behaviors are great. They're easy to train, and they're very useful in a lot of different ways. So you can train a dog to target their nose to just about anything. And you can also target a dog to go to a mat, which is very helpful in kid dog environments where you can teach the dog to move away from the child. You can do all sorts of cool things, and it's an easy thing to train a dog to do. It's typically fun for both the dog and the person training. Oh, so
When
cute.
we met Ted for the first time, he was only 1 year old.
Okay, so I really like what they're doing here. It's a young dog. They said that he's only a year old. And I like that there is a person in between the dog.
He was so excited, very curious, that after 1 hour, he sat down and was much calmer than I expected him to be. He
I am a little concerned that there's no one between the dog and the baby. I do like that the person with the camera has the dog's focused attention on them. This does make me a little bit nervous that the baby and the dog are so close together without an adult in between the two of them.
There was something precious and needed to be gentle and careful.
So as I'm looking at this, the dog does seem to have been trained, either purposely trained or just inadvertently trained, because dogs are always learning all the time. This dog has been reinforced for looking at his person. You can tell that because he looks at the baby, he looks back. This behavior is something that I teach heavily for dogs that have reactivity or are freaked out about certain movements or sounds, things like that. Teach them to look at their person. It's a behavior that's very strongly reinforced so that they are calm doing it. And what you're seeing here is what I like to see, is they're looking at the thing and then they're looking back. Still would prefer that there was an adult in between the two of them. I'm not too nervous because the dog looks calm. He's not moving towards the baby. And he keeps checking back in with, I'm assuming it's mom or dad holding the camera.
That was always was with him.
Okay. Licking. We assume that when a dog is licking, that it is affection. And it could be. It could also be that the baby tastes good. A lot of dogs really love looking on kids and babies because they're always filled with food and they taste good. It's also could be a sign of appeasement. A lot of young dogs, and this dog is only a year old or pretty young. A lot of younger dogs will lick their elder dogs, and that is a sign of, like, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm submissive to you. That's a normal dog to dog sort of behavior. And sometimes dogs do that to other people. It can also sometimes be that they're a little bit anxious. It's so contextual, but the thought, and again, I'm not seeing anything here with this dog. It's the challenge that I have with this video is that there could be instances where this is not okay, and it's very hard to tell the difference. There's a lot of nuances in the body language, and I just wanted to make note that the licking is not always an affectionate kiss. It could be any number of things depending on the context, depending on the dog's body language, depending on what's happening between the kid and the dog. So it's not the safe thing to assume that every time a dog is licking is that they're kissing. Really cute baby. So this makes me more nervous because the dog is standing up over the baby. The dog is looking around the baby's neck. One of the things I need to say here is that I see a lot of dogs with problem behaviors, so that I know what can go wrong. And even if it doesn't go wrong 9 out of 10 times, the 10th time can be so detrimental and harmful and devastating that a little bit of prevention is a good thing. I would not be comfortable with this situation. Again, I would want at all times for there to be a person in between the dog and the baby, because the baby is just so vulnerable. Okay, so this is an area that's a little bit riskier. The baby is holding out a toy. The dog goes to put it in his mouth, and then the baby pulls it back. So that could trigger some, like, wait a minute, that's my toy, I want to go get it. Some resource guarding between the baby and the dog. And that makes me a little bit nervous. Again, that's why you would want to have an adult human in between dog and baby so those interactions don't happen until you can train the dog to ignore anything that the baby is reaching out and handing to them. Because as this baby grows up and starts moving around, what happens an awful lot, and I don't know if this will show up later, what happens an awful lot in a lot of households is that the dog starts stealing food from the child, that the dog actually starts stealing food from the child right out of their hands. And that's something that you want to avoid. Or the dog and the baby both wanting an object like that. Again, it's just a risk, and not that it's going to happen, but it's a risk that it could happen. And the challenge is, especially with a young dog, is you don't know what this dog will do as the dog starts to develop and grow into their more adult dog personality. A 6-month-old dog, an 8-month-old dog, a year-old dog, an 18-month-old dog, a 2-year-old dog. They're different. They're going through developmental stages, and their responses to things may be very different. Oh yeah, no. Okay, the child in the dog's dish, and I see this all the time. And that's how cute the baby's picking out food while the dogs are eating. That should be a big no-no, because you never know when a dog may start becoming resource guarding. My dog Danny, who's 21 months old, he'll be 2 at the end of June. For the first time ever, a week ago, he growled at one of my other dogs when he had a bully stick and they approached him. He's never done that before. It's a situation that has always happened. And I was just glad I was there. And now I am monitoring and watching and working on resource guarding activities between all the dogs, because what I don't want to have happen are the dogs starting to fight. So that's something that there was no sign of until he actually did it. In fact, I had never heard him growl before. It was both, oh, okay, you're now standing up for yourself, and uh-oh, we don't want to start having dog fights in this household.
Crawl. We noticed that he started to take toys in his mouth and crawl after Elvis. So there was 2 dogs.
So again, crawling after dogs is something that I would be a little bit concerned about without an adult in between the two of them. And picking up toys and putting them in his mouth and walking around with it, again, I'd be a little bit concerned about resource guarding. Dogs can't understand really that this is my toy versus a child's toy. So I would be cautious with anything that a child had in their mouth or in their hands around the dog until you can teach the dog some behaviors. Now, they may very well have taught this dog certain behaviors like leave it or drop, or you can actually teach a dog not to even approach the child while they're crawling around on the floor. You can teach them to go somewhere else or to stay 5 feet away or 10 feet away. These are all things that can be taught. However, you want to always be supervising. Obviously, they're supervising because they're taking a video of the situation, but without knowing the training that's been involved and how strong the training is, again, this is something that you don't want to have happen across the board.
Strolling around our house with toys in the mouth. When they were outside, he saw that Elvis was eating grass. So he was like, oh my God, he's eating that. I can eat it too.
So that's really cute.
Every day I train Elvis.
I love this. So this is great dog-child interaction. The dog and the child are side by side. They're not interacting with each other, but they're having fun with each other. So yeah, like I thought, there is training going on. But I just love this dual training thing that's going on where they're both doing the behaviors. It's really cute, and it's also a great, appropriate dog-kid interaction.
Simple, lay down, and Elvis with us every day as well. So when I say sit, Elvis and Jen. When they lay down, Elvis lay.
That is just awesome. I want to do this with every single dog and baby because that is something, like I said, that this is something where the dog and the child can play with each other and interact with each other in a way where there's not any sort of stress. They're doing their play parallel, and it is really cute and awesome.
Down. Yeah. They have their unique snack time. Vill ni ha lite snacks? Every day. I can just say snack time, and they are running to the carpet and sit down next to each other.
Okay, so that is cute that they both have the same cue for snack time and they go to a rug together. I would actually prefer to see them go to separate rugs. They could be kind of near each other, like maybe a couple of feet away from each other, but sitting on top of each other with food involved. Again, that's just a risk. And if you can see, when she puts the food bowl down, he does go. He's curious about it. He is not leaving the child's food alone. He's interested in it. And I would be concerned about that as a long-term thing. But really teaching the dog not to go after anything unless they have some sort of release word or this is yours. But what I would really prefer to see here is that the child has their rug, the dog has their rug, they're separate from each other. The dog is taught not to go on the child's rug. It may be the child's still a little bit too young probably to teach him not to go over to the dog's rug, but that's what adult supervision is all about.
Ted gets a little snack plate with his little corn sticks, and Elvis gets the carrots or something. Elvis, of course, is eating his snacks in 3 seconds and sitting patiently looking at Ted's snack. He's eating slowly, looking at Elvis, and he feels that he needs to share his snacks, both of them.
Okay, that is really cute. I would keep the dog engaged in some activity, either a bully stick or give the dog their treats in a food toy so it'll take longer for them to get through instead of having the dog stare at the child eating the food all the time. I would also teach the dog that they need to have a cue before they'll take the food from the child. And that's a little bit more advanced training. But if you're going to have this much interaction between child and dog, and there's food involved, food can bring a lot of resource guarding issues. This dog is still really young.
Are learning to be selfless, they share everything. When Ted is going to sleep, he's always saying goodnight to Elvis. He has his teddy bear, his pacifier, and going straight to Elvis and give him the biggest.
Okay, so the dog does look really happy here and content here, and that's a sweet little tail wag. Now, other people may look at it and see little signs here and there. Again, unless you really know the dog, unless you're really seeing the dog interact on a regular basis, it's hard to tell from just a short video clip like this whether the dog is stressed out or not. I'm not seeing that. The challenge here is that for the audience of people watching this video, there are other dogs that are not going to be comfortable with this sort of thing, and the dog is going to be really stressed out. And the signs of the stress may be very, very subtle. So that is a concern.
They have grown up together.
Okay, how cute is that? That is really cute.
And we are just helping them on the road.
So I love stuff like this too, is teaching a dog to walk on a leash with the kid holding the leash. And if you train the dog really well to walk on a leash, then this can be done. Now, if you're training leash skills with aversives, like with yanks or pulls or a prong collar, if you're training the leash walking skills with positive reinforcement, this can be a great activity for dog and kid. But if you're training leash walking skills with an aversive, such as a prong collar or a shock collar, or just yanking back on the leash, then that becomes a little bit risky. There could be some negative associations there. So that's what a happy, loose dog looks like. If you notice when he went over to him, his body's really loose and wiggly. And that's what you really want to look for with a dog's body language, is if they're tight versus when they're loose. And so that was a happy greeting from dog to child. Again, this kind of thing does make me nervous because there isn't an adult. Now, I could be wrong. There could be an adult right off screen, but I prefer to see an adult in between the dog and the child in a situation like this, because the dog's mouth is on the baby's face. You just don't know, and it's just best to be very, very safe. As cute as that image is, I would really prefer I didn't see it. So, okay, very cute video. I can't deny that. It is adorable. And the thing is that this dog is delightfully tolerant. It is still a young dog. And as the dog goes through this, their behavior may change. So, all in all, it's an adorable video. And it does seem, again, like this dog is really tolerant and is well trained as well, and does appreciate the baby. However, there's a lot of dogs and babies out there where the dog would be uncomfortable, where you'd see a lot more discomfort between the child and the dog. There definitely is a Debbie Downer thing about all this, being the person that is saying, that is really cute, but it could be dangerous. But it's really important when you have a baby and a dog in the same household to be cautious and not allow certain situations to happen. So this video is adorable. I appreciate these things as well. And like I said, as a dog behavior consultant, I'm called in when there are big problems in the household with dogs and their behavior. And a lot of times it's dogs and the kids in the household. Dogs acting like this and dogs being calm around babies and being calm around kids isn't as common as dogs that have some difficulty. And so videos like this that show this wonderful world is contributing to a cultural myth that this is normal and what is to be expected. And what's normal and what is to be expected is really that there may be some issues. And what's normal should be taking a lot of precautions to make sure that the dog isn't stressed out and the kids are safe at all times. Now, they did some really great things in there. I really loved that they train the dog and the baby at the same time. And then you can almost do like a Simon Says with that. That would be a really fun game. The biggest concerns here are the amount of times the baby's on the floor and helpless with the dog looming over him, and the interactions with the food. Because resource guarding is a normal dog behavior, resource guarding is also a normal child and toddler behavior. And at a certain point in time, that could become a problem. And so I would be doing everything to avoid that, not letting them take food out of each other's hands, teaching the dog to move away whenever the child has food in there, teaching the dog that they need to hear a cue from their person, the adult person, before they'll take any food from a child's house. One of the biggest challenges in households with dogs and kids is dogs jumping up, stealing food, ripping clothes, trying to get at the things that the kids have in their hands, trying to get at the toys. And the dog ends up inadvertently terrorizing the child, and that's been allowed to happen. And starting off with this, where the kid is playing with the toy and then tilling it back, doing these types of things are encouraging that sort of behavior. It may never become a problem in this situation. It may never become a problem in your household. what we're talking about here is potential risk. And I would rather be someone that's a little bit of a Debbie Downer and saying, let's put some protections into place and some training into place that will make it safe, and will make it safe as the kid goes through their different developmental growth times. And if you have a young dog, that things will continue to stay safe as the dog goes through their developmental growth cycles. What you have here are two beings that are going to change as they grow up. So that's the video for today. Again, it was very charming. If you're concerned at all, if you have a gut feeling at all, bring in a professional. Bring in a professional that really understands dog behavior. And definitely do not bring in a professional that's going to be using any sort of aversive techniques with the dog, with your child present, because that could just make the situation worse. There's a lot of people that will say that's not true. At some point, I will go through the underlying science of all that. I'll devote an entire video to the science for the people that want to know a little bit more about it. But I can say that there is decades of science that support this. If you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, please let me know in the comments. Please like it. That will help the algorithm, and subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of different videos about dog bites this week. Please subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm, so more people have access to this information. It shows up on more people's feeds, and I will see you soon.